All right, so we'll just start in maybe a couple more minutes.
Hello.
Hello. We're just waiting a couple more minutes, getting everyone started. I will ask if you are an advisor in the room. We'll just get started a couple minutes, and then I'll let you know when to get started, and then you can turn on your cameras. Everyone else, if you're a first-year student, we ask that you keep your cameras off and your microphones off during the presentation, and then we'll just get started in maybe like 1 more minute, just waiting for a couple more students to get in. Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure if everyone can see the video that we have up, Successful Scientist Biology, the slideshow.
Yep, I believe I can see it.
Perfect. All
Yes,
right.
I can see it as well.
Perfect. Sounds good. And I'll just start off with a couple quick introductions. The event will run in 2 separate parts. So the first part, we'll have a presentation from our biology advisors, and we'll go through these slideshows, and then we can learn lots from there. And then after that, we'll have our student panelist session, and then we can hear and ask questions through the chat function to any of our panelists that we'll have later on. And then when we transition to the panelist section, I'll let everyone know so that we can start asking questions then. Does that sound good for everyone?
Sounds good.
Okay, without further ado, I'll let the advisors take over. Looks like we're having a couple technical difficulties. We'll just wait a couple more minutes for our advisors to come in. All right, so it looks like we have an advisor in the room ready to go. I believe we have Sue White in the room. If we wanted to get started, I can take care of going through the slides. And if you want to unmute your mic and have your camera on ready to go to start the presentation.
Am I starting right now?
Yeah.
Right now, like I start the slides,
I have the slides up shared screen.
but they're not in presentation mode. For me, I can see the thumbnail strip on the side. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Are we good now?
We are good now.
Okay, all right, we can get started. Sorry about that. We had a few technical difficulties.
Yeah, I only got the message 3 minutes ago, so there we go.
And I can take charge of going through the slides and passing them over to the next slide and everything.
Oh, I'm not advancing the slides. What am I going to?
I can advance them. I can advance them.
That's not easier for me, but okay. So are the students present? I guess.
Yeah.
So we have 37 students. Okay. So, well, on behalf of the Department of Biology, the faculty, the staff, and instructors, and particularly the undergrad advisors today, I'd like to welcome you to the department and to this webinar. My goal here is to, besides welcoming you to starting your studies, is to provide you with important resources to empower you to be successful and happy while you're here. So we've put together hopefully things that you need in the short run, and we want to introduce ourselves so you'll know how to connect with us going forward. This is the next slide, please. This is the plan or the schedule. First, I'll just introduce virtually the program advisors, then how you're going to plan for your first term, expanding your experience, and then we'll have questions and answers that will be run by the orientation leader with some experienced students. Okay, next slide, please. So you can see here there are several advisors, and you're welcome to contact any of us. We will, I'll have each, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about each person. You may go and speak with one, and they're not available another day. You can speak with another. We communicate. We have a system to record important information that we've given you so that should you change and talk to another instructor, it'll be very easy. So Simon Chung teaches plant biology, plant physiology, and is very experienced in cell biology. So if that's, there's no reason why you have to go to an advisor that has a certain expertise that you want, but you may if you were interested in perhaps career advice. Chris DuPont's background is in animal virology. She teaches several courses here, intro genetics, and virology, and several microbiology courses. Kesson Ma is also a microbiologist. He works with very interesting organisms that called methanogens and live at high temperatures. He is on sabbatical this year, but will be back in the new year, and so you can contact him if you're interested in that background. My name is Barb Moffat, and I am a plant molecular geneticist, and so I'm really, really intrigued by how organisms can control their genes and how they respond to different stresses and environments. Jeannie Redpath-Er, you will no doubt interact with her. She manages the co-op work term reports, 499 applications, and is always ready to talk to students. And Sue White is with us. I don't know, Sue, can you say, do you want to introduce yourself? I know I didn't use the photograph you sent.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Sue White. I'm one of the biology advisors. I also do advising for the biomedical science program, so I do have a fair number of students that come in to see me, but I'm always, my door's always open for students to come in if you've got questions. I do have various roles within the department, but one of the biggest role that I do is the academic advising, and so I'm always available for students to ask questions.
And maybe, I don't know if Sue wants me to say this, but she's certainly the most familiar with our curriculum, does the scheduling, so she's very aware of what courses are might change terms. She and Jeannie are really on top of that. And there's one person in the department that actually can make quest changes, and for biology that is Sue White. But that doesn't mean you aren't not to be. That's a last resort, or if you really get in, she can at least look at quest, whereas the rest of us can't. That's true, right, Sue?
Yes. Thank
Probably
you.
Might not have wanted me to let that cat out of the bag, but. Bruce Wolf teaches animal physiology. He is a graduate of the University of Waterloo. Well, he did his PhD here, and it looks after several physiology labs, as well as teaching molecular biology. So we can help in many ways. You can just go through you can click through all the animation. So the academic support that we can provide is to help discuss course selection, whether or not you're interested in a major or minor, talk to you about exchanges, and definitely can point you to more effective resources. So who is the person that would directly help you with exchanges? We can discuss the ideas, and then we can point you to key resources. And so that's what the referrals are all about. Career planning. Now, we are not career planners per se, but we are certainly have met a lot of students. Most of us have been advisors for quite a number of years. And so we've seen the journeys that students have had and how their programs might change, or whether options might be interesting. But then we will probably pass you off or direct you to individuals who truly are career planners. And then, of course, there's always this, what do I do? This doesn't feel right. All those kind of just general inquiries. So that's us. Next slide, please. So to contact us, you saw that there were several. And often when you want to contact an advisor, it's like you want to know right now, or something bad has happened, not bad has happened, but you can't get in, and who can help you. We sincerely ask you to not write to all 6 of us at the same time, because when we get these panic messages, we also work overtime to try and solve the problem. And then you are basically taking 6 people's time to madly contact the instructor with the same question or whatever. So would you please contact one and provide your full name and ID and what you need, and we will definitely work as fast as we can. If we are unable to work, we definitely punt them to another person and say, I can't do this, or I don't know the answer. Often that's to Sue, but often we can manage it ourselves. But we definitely keep our information in an electronic database that has nothing personal per se, but at least says, I spoke to Barb about her interest in switching into biochem, and this is what I told her. And so we give that general information. So if you do have to talk to someone else, we can very quickly access that database and know what the plan has been, or the course of your decision making. So, but we're not your only resources. There are others. Next slide, please. So we have quite a wider community. So we have a science undergrad office, who are the advisors that are currently advising you in first year, and you've probably been in contact with them, and these other resources. So let's take a quick look at each of these. Next slide, please. So, as I said, these are the individuals that you may have been in contact with already, but they are members of the Science Undergrad Office and look after they did the block enrollment and all the course selection and arrangements and scheduling of your classes in first year, apart from your electives. And so you may have received email from one of these individuals, but they are here for your general planning and dropping and adding course load questions in first year and academic support, but maybe not course specific. So if you're looking for biology specific information, then you would be better served to come and talk to a biology advisor. But generally switching out of chem, or these two are overlapping, these courses are overlapping in first year, these are the folks that you want to talk to. Now there's several ways to talk to them. Next slide, please. You can book an online appointment because we can't be with you in person, but you can book an online appointment, and I have the link at the bottom of the page here to basically, it's just this form, so I put it up there so you would see how simple it will be to just ask a question and arrange to speak with someone. These are answered within a day, or at the very peak periods of the term, maybe it takes a couple days. But definitely we have a lot of advisors and they share the appointments. Next slide, please. You can also chat with the Science Undergrad office. So you want a quick answer, you want a fast answer, that maybe is, you can enter Teams chat just in the platform that you're in right now. You can see along the side that there is a chat icon. So you open this, next slide please, you click on that. And then you would put Science Undergrad office in this box and hit submit. And that will go to the undergrad office and someone will be available to chat, either to say with a quick answer, or maybe if it's something that's more detailed, it would have to be hunted over to booking an appointment. Next slide, please. I guess I left out one point farther back, but don't worry. You can also send an email to scienceadvisor@uwaterloo.ca, and that will also lead to having an appointment. So your instructors. I'm an instructor. Other advisors, many of the advisors are instructors, and we are really here for you. We have this privilege of teaching because we love sharing the passion we have for our subject, and we really want you to do well and want to be able to communicate with you to make sure that what we're providing meets your needs. Now, the information that we have, we're trying to organize that information, and it's on Learn. Each of your courses has a course syllabus, and this is actually a contract. And so if we put in there what is to be done in the class, then that is your #1 place to go for information directly from your instructor. Instructors that have office hours, and this is the most underutilized resource that students have, that students ignore. Used to be, I would have students lined up outside my door every period for office hours, and now that's not the case. But I'm still the same person. It's just things have changed, and people have moved to liking to talk virtually. Excuse me, please. But even so, it's become quite a trend to talk to your friends about the class more than coming to talk to your instructor directly or your TA. So if I could encourage you on anything, I'd like to encourage you to recognize your instructors are people, and we are interested in helping. Lab instructors, they are going to look after the lab activities. They're the people that you talk to if you're ill, miss a lab period, can't complete your lab report. Don't go to your instructor for those. Don't go to your course instructor, go to the lab instructor who manages that course. Okay, next slide, please. Sorry, next slide, please. So each of your labs, you will have TAs, or teaching assistants. And these are undergraduate or graduate students who have taken the course and or are working, doing research in that discipline, and they were going to lead you through their labs. Their #1 role for them is to keep you safe. So you have to arrive prepared. They are not there. You don't arrive saying, what are we doing today? You arrive saying, I'm really interested in learning how to do these different gram stains or microbiology stains or dissecting a plant or whatever. So you arrive prepared, having read the lab book, have it written up, ready to ask what help you need. But they are definitely there to help you for your lab reports, understanding the data that you had, and basically making sure you're getting the most out of that experience. They do have office hours as well, or they have contacts, And these are the folks, when you're writing up your lab report that you need help, these are the folks you go to first, because they know the marking scheme, they will be doing the marking. So rather than just going online and looking for help, please try and use whatever discussion boards are set up in your courses or contact your TAs. Next slide, please. Then there's your peers. We absolutely want you to learn along with them. We want you to form study groups, to meet people, to learn how to learn more effectively from others. Sorry, got some. But we, and to just expand your network. However, it is important that you check with your instructors about how you should be collaborating on assignments with these study groups and friends. It is not acceptable to be using Facebook in the middle of a quiz. It was never acceptable when we were doing it in person, and it's not acceptable now. It is also not acceptable to divide assignments and have, Sue, you do question 1, Barb, you do question 3, Nancy, you do question 2, and then we've just put our answers together. The reason this is absolutely a flawed idea is because if I cheat on my answer in some way, the whole group goes down because your name is on something with an answer that was obtained with cheating. So please check with your instructors. Next slide, please. Sorry. There are several tools online to help with your success, and the number one is Learn. And those of you who did Waterloo Ready or participated in any components of that are now familiar with Learn, and the rest can access this link, and you will see, once classes start, you will see all your courses, and each one has its own page. Next slide, please. No, please go back one more. This little box here I want to bring to your attention. This is a link to very important announcements, and it's basically a link to a different group. We've put all the science students into a group called SciSpace, and this space allows us to message you so that you're in Learn a Lot. It's an easy way. If you see a little red dot there, that means there's a message there for you. You don't have to open your email, you just go to there. Okay, next slide, please. You will see, this is just an example of what was in SciSpace when I made this slide. And it has various important messages. These aren't important, these are for the prior term, so that's not what you need. But there will be messages here about events, there'll be messages on signing up, times for enrollment, really critical messages. You know that lots of times you have different emails and you say, oh, I don't want to read my email. These are the key ones. So if you see a red dot, please look at the red dot. They are there for your benefit. We do not put junk mail in red dot messages. Next slide, please. Now, Quest. So Quest is where your records are kept, your grades are kept, where you can record your email, where you can change and add courses. Is there anything else I should say about Quest, Sue, that I don't know?
This is where also we ask when students in your upper years that you can course select for future terms. And that's very important information for the scheduling people like myself to adjust or, increase class sizes as needed, depending on, what has been offered the term before. It does provide us with a lot of information. So that would be another thing that would be emailed to you. And please, in the future terms, more second year and on, it's very important to course select all of your classes. This coming winter term, the first year office and myself will be blocking students into, your core required courses. So again, like you would have seen in the first term, when you clicked on, you would have already had your cell biology, your biology lab, your diversity of life course, and chemistry. So those are the classes that we would be putting in for you, just to give you a start. And then for the winter term, we'll be doing the exact same thing, but you'll also need to add in your electives for winter. But starting in second year, that would be when you would go into your course selection area within Quest and provide us with what you would like for your second year. So again, that's another thing that you would find within your Quest. It's called the course selection.
Thanks a lot. And don't feel that you had to madly take down notes about that. Again, this is another piece of information that will be provided in the red dot to remind you and guide you through this process, or you can connect with advisors. But I think it's important to know where these resources are, and if you need any help using them, we're glad to be there. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry, that was to remind us of what to say. Now the calendar. Okay, so this is another overlooked gem. This is the source of all the policies, the guidelines, the regulations that govern our role, our responsibilities, and your responsibilities. And so we're both governed by the calendar. And so, can you do this for me? No, the calendar says this, or so this provides the list of courses that make up your program, and you follow that list for the year you enter. So if any changes are made to the program during the period you're with us, they do not affect you in a negative way. So if at one point we added an English class, for example, and all the students who had already taken an English class in a different form of the program, they did not have to suddenly take another new course. So whatever the package is that you signed on for, that's what you follow. Now, if any wonderful rule is changed that makes it easier for you to get your degree, lighter course load, some kind of fewer number of credits, you will be able to take advantage of any positive change in the program that is deemed fair by the calendar. So the calendar is set. Any changes there go through several levels of administration, and once it's changed, it'll say, okay, this rule is retroactive, or this rule is not. So this is where you really want to keep track of this link, because if you ever want to know the rules, this is what you want to find. So next slide, please. You'll find in here links to all the programs and courses. So next slide, please. So for each course, you will find a description, when at least in science, what term that's offered, what courses you need. They're called prerequisites to be ready to take that course. So this is the go-to place for this information. Next slide, please. And you'll also find the degree requirements, as I've just mentioned. So those are also detailed there. Next slide. Now, the biology website. This is another place for information. We've now focused the information on advice for planning your degree. You can see who's teaching each course. We can talk about awards. Again, we have the list, the contacts, ready contacts for advisors. And we have these checklists for showing you what courses you need to take for what program you've entered. Next slide, please. This is an example of a degree checklist. So you can see, you can come to an advisor, but you are easy to download the one you have. You can keep it on file for yourself and check off as you're going. You don't have to do things in a certain order. You just have to get them all done by the end. So it gives you a vision of where you're going, how far along you are. And it's always good to have this up to date when you want to meet with an advisor, and you can say, can you check over what I've done? For sure, we're glad to check over what we've done, but we're going to do the very same thing. We're going to take that piece of paper and look at Quest and say, okay, what did you pass? Okay, that one's done. And then we can talk about options. But this is definitely, for again, a way for us to provide resources to empower you to feel like, okay, I'm in the driver's seat, and this is what I've got done. Next slide, please. Now, Portal, I don't know if probably Waterloo Ready introduced this to you, but this is a tool that is open for all students and has what are called widgets, and you select the widget that you want. When are open rooms available, and Many of the widgets, I will admit, are for more on-campus experience. They may well have widgets for access to buildings and more COVID-related information as the term gets underway. But definitely, they're very useful online tools there. It's a way for us to message all students and for them to find information effectively. Next slide, please. Now, here's one that we hear a lot about, but your Waterloo email. I know you all have email addresses of your own. We don't write to those addresses. We don't access those addresses. Those are your personal address. What you need to do is adopt using your UWaterloo address, or at least look at it regularly, because this is your official email address, and this is the one that your instructors will access. If your instructor wants to talk to every student in the class, we can write, and those messages will go to your UWaterloo address. It is not acceptable. It isn't even going to work to say, I'm sorry that I don't read my UWaterloo email. So I didn't enroll in my classes, but I really want to get into your class, but it's full. Guess what? It's full because everyone else read their email and pre-enrolled. So really need you to read your UWaterloo email. Next slide, please. So this is how you're going to communicate with your instructors. Another reason why this is a real problem of using, say, Hotmail. Hotmail sometimes shuts down all communication with Hotmail accounts at Waterloo, because if we push out to Hotmail, it looks like we're spamming. So we cannot send out, as I've written here, time-sensitive announcements using your personal email at all. In fact, we don't have, it's in Quest. Instructors do not have access to that information, to your personal information, and so they can't use that. So you are going to get your messages from UWaterloo. Next slide, please. And so this is the email that you're going to be using. It's called Office 365. Next slide. Now I'd like to shift a little bit to the academics. So those are the resources we have. Let's take a look at what's different between learning in university and learning in high school. Next slide, or the next part of the slide. It's basically the proportion. Just keep clicking through the animations for this slide. Thanks. There's one more. Thanks. So you can, oops, a little too far. You can see that the proportion of how much you are going to learn inside the classroom versus on your own is completely reversed between high school and university. At high school, I wouldn't say, it says little or no preparation for class was necessary. I'm sure many of you were very highly motivated and may well have prepared for classes or read ahead. I've read amazing amazing applications for scholarships of students that are working very hard ahead of class. So I don't mean to be judgmental here, but in comparison, the expectation that that's done is different. I think some of you probably prepared in high school, but maybe it wasn't necessary. And the information was taught with some homework. Now in university, you're going to be in the driver's seat. And really, to learn effectively, you would be really well advised to read over the pages that are going to be covered. They'll be laid out for you. And so that before you say, listen to a video, read over the pages and so you take note of what is difficult for you, what parts are hard, what are the words hard, particularly for terminology. Look those words up if those words are new to you before you listen to the video, so you will be able to focus on the concepts as they're being taught. It's going to be important to regularly review and you'll be given little quizzes and assignments to help you with that, to keep you up to date. But it's also going to be important credit for you to proactively ask your instructors or TAs, guess what? I need help here. You're in the driver's seat. Okay, next slide, please. Another big one is you have to submit assignments on time. There are late penalties for late assignments, and it's always important to know what those are. They're quite modest, but it's better to hand something in late and do a good job, or have it be your own work and not rely on cheating with somebody else to say, oh, I don't have it done. Can I have yours? Please don't do that. Instead, take a late penalty. But you don't get to say, hey, I'm not ready. Can I put it in late? If you do that, there will be some consequences. Not horrendous, but you do have to put them in. So a little less easygoing, I'd say, than what we've been told high school has done. You can't just say you've got a heavy workload, so I can't do the exam, or that I'm not ready for that test. The tests are organized on specific times, and you'll have, at least in an online world, usually have a window of when you have to write that test. And if you are ill, then you need to obtain what's called a verification of illness form and submit it to the Science Undergrad office. If your illness is related to a COVID infection, which I certainly hope doesn't happen to any of you, you do not have to have a verification of illness form prior to that test. That's done on an honor basis. Finally, travel plans are not an acceptable reason for having a different exam time. So at near mid-October, the exam schedule will be released. You should take note of when your exams are offered. And the exam period is a time when you cannot travel. And generally, certainly in an in-person world, if there is a inclement weather, like usually a snow day on your exam, that will be shifted to another day, and it is not acceptable to say, oh, guess what, I've already made travel plans for that day. I was planning on my exam being this day. So the exam period is a blocked period when you should not be traveling. Obviously, we don't need to rely on snow days for the online world. But next slide, please. So here's a few milestones for you this week. Make sure your email is set up in Quest so that you are either forwarding your mail to an account you read, or you've registered your email. Go to Learn and make sure that you can access it and you see what's there. It won't be very informative until classes start. Then you should complete what's called WMIS, which is the safety training. And that's going to be provided in Learn 2. You can see a link for WMIS, and you're going to work through that. I think it'll take you less than an hour. And then you print off the certificate at the very end that says, okay, you've passed through those, you completed the module, and then you have that to submit for your labs. And then attend your classes. So don't get into the habit of sleeping in and saying, oh, well, I don't want to get started. No, it's probably not, it's just easy stuff. But what you want to do is read the syllabus, make a calendar that has all the dates of when you have assignments, what's going to happen weekly in each class. Try and get an idea of where are going to be the heavy periods of the term. Where you have 2 midterms 1 week, for example. So say, okay, I'm going to really have to be on the ball. Then you're going to also, what I'd like you to take note of is for each class, what are the deadlines? What would be the impact of taking a late assignment? So when you get in those busy weeks, you can make a really mature decision and say, okay, there's too much here. I can't put that lab report in. I'm going to take the late penalty on the lab report and put that in 1 day later. So do that planning. It's going to be there's definitely going to be a need for real planning. Next slide, please. So in the following weeks, you should be looking to buy your textbooks. Now, some of you may have already bought your textbook, and you find that under what's called Waterloo Book Look. You can also look at the used bookstore. You can share books with a friend. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't try to find options for saving money. Go to your class and say, maybe the instructor is going to say, well, that textbook is optional, or you could have an e-version that would save you some money. So definitely look for savings there. Now you also have to get practice on your study habits. I suspect most of you have already got this set up because you've had to be doing some online studying at home already. is to get here. But definitely prepare, make your plan with your calendar, as I said, and prepare for your weekly quizzes. Make sure you've got your connections working, that you know maybe it's going to be a case in your house where others are also sharing the bandwidth, and there's going to be times when it would be pretty busy. Maybe you could get together with the family and make sure, okay, this is going to be a really important window for me on these test times. So let's make sure, might be good to have kind of a family calendar of when you're going to really need access. I know some people are sharing resources, and so having that conversation will be important. There's a welcome week that the Federation of Students it organizes, and there's the link to their list of events, and they've got a lot of fun ones planned, as do the science ambassadors and orientation leaders are running Science Showcase. Basically, it's run by a lot of different science clubs. Be a great way for you to get to know options for getting involved going forward. So again, there'll be a message, a red dot that will come out, but Portal will also have links to those events. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So here's a few important dates when classes start. Labs will start each lab will start at different times, depending on the course. So you should look at your schedule on Quest. Some will start in the second week, some maybe even the third. So they're being staggered so that we can manage your safety. But I think, and just manage, each course has a different schedule. So that's for you to check. So again, as Sue said, you check on Quest, look at your own schedule. What section are you in? What time do you start? Then there's going to be the last day to add courses. You can see that's September 21. You've been block enrolled into your required courses. If you were going to make any changes, for sure those have to be made by September 21. Because let's be honest, by September 21, a fair amount of information has already gone on in a course. There'll be grades, quizzes, and you can't join a course late and say, I hope you'll just forego those because I was late. No, that bus has gone. So you have to get into your courses as early as you can so that you get to take advantage of everything. Now, I can see I've got a little bit of a typo here because I've got September 82 as my 100% drop date. That's probably 28, is it, Sue?
Yes, the 28th.
There you go. Sorry, I missed that little typo. In any case, every term there's going to be a day when you can completely drop your classes, your course, because you say, listen, I'm in over my head, something's happened, this load isn't what I wanted, this course isn't working for me, this just isn't working. For sure, if you have a doubt about that, come and talk to an advisor. It is definitely a good idea to get out if you're feeling overwhelmed. If there's one thing I'd like you to think about, it's thinking of that little voice in your head that says, this isn't working, Barb. Ooh, this really doesn't feel like I'm enjoying this. Let's get an advisor in. Let's have a talk. Let's find a different path for you. It doesn't mean you're bailing. It just means maybe we'll take that in a different order. And the order you take classes is really self-directed, and we can definitely help with that. That's what I mean about seeing a lot of people journey through their undergrad degree. We've seen a lot of variations, and they all work. It's just they have to work for you. Now, when you do drop a course, what you'll see is a WD on your, you'll see a WD on your record. That doesn't mean failure, not going to affect your average. Now, but if you wait too long to drop, then you get a WF, and that is a failure, and that would mean that you get a 32. I'm sorry, I can't see the bottom of any of the slides, so if I'm missing something there. So do you want to talk about the WD, WF so I don't say that wrong?
Sure, no, yes, I can certainly talk about that. So with the WD itself, like Dr. Moffat has just mentioned, is where it's a grade, but it just means that you've attempted the course between the 3rd week and to the end of the 10th week of term. There's no true grade attached. It's just meaning that you've taken that course during that time. Students can enroll in it in a future term if it's one of our core courses. And then if, like Dr. Moffat said, if we wait too long, then it ends up being a grade of 32, that WF, and that runs from November 24th until you write your first exam. Students have the option of WF grade at that point. Once the exams start, then that grade of WF is no longer available. It would be something you'd have to reach out to an advisor about if you're, running into difficulties during that final exam time period. But again, majority of the students, it would be into a WD. That's what we would normally see. We will also have our first year advisors reaching out to students sort of periodically during the term. This might be something that comes up eventually in our discussion, but they will be monitoring, how students are doing in their courses, and there will be outreach to students if we find that there's, something that we could provide assistance with. There will be that outreach usually into late October, early November. So definitely, if you're feeling that the WD is something you're considering, reach out to any one of the advisors, whether it's the first year science undergrad office team, even the biology advisors, especially if it's a biology course. Feel free to contact us, and we can discuss what the next opportunity is for the course, or what pathway is what works best for students.
Yep, thanks. Because I do want to stress that it's a undergraduate degree is a personal journey, and it's going to, your interests might change, your situation might change, and the order that you take courses can readily be adjusted. Now, there's going to be a fall reading break. Now, I picked a relaxing picture so that it is a chance for you to recharge and rejuvenate. I wouldn't say that we're planning on you literally just sleeping as comfortably as this puppy, but I think it is a good time to rejuvenate and have a sleep in. But you'll probably be doing some reading and reviewing so that you feel invigorated and ready to take on the next part of the term. You can see during that period, there'll be, during this, after classes start and before they end, there's definitely going to be an enrollment period. That's going to be important for you to take note of. You will be block enrolled again into your required courses, but you will be adding your own electives. Again, keep in mind, next year you will be doing all your own enrollment. So although we're trying to ease you into the process so that you don't miss anything important, but again, you're going to be doing all your own enrolling in even your essential courses for second year. And so let's get used to this process. This is how we're trying to make it a little easier. You can see the exam schedule will be posted mid-October, and I've already told you how important that is. The link at the bottom of this slide is to the calendar of important events, and I'm going to have a slide I'll provide a slide at the end with all these links, but this is a really important table, has all the dates, when classes start, when is the WD period, when is full tuition refund, half tuition refund, depending on when you drop. All these important dates are in that, will be at that link. And then classes end and final exams, you can see there is an exam period there, and that's when there's no travel allowed or expected. Again, instructors are people. Keep in touch. Something serious happens, definitely talk to us. It's not as if everything is black and white, but it isn't a case of, hey, we were planning a cruise and tickets were better in this period. I know it was my exam, but that kind of thing. So, but definitely, if something really important happens to you in your life, it's really important for you to tell. And if it's something that you don't feel comfortable talking to all your instructors, that's another thing that advisors do. We can be the intermediary. You can discuss it once with us. Perhaps there's been a bereavement, a death in your family, And that's not something that you want to explain over and over. Again, come to an advisor, explain the situation, and we can reach out to the instructors for you. So we can definitely be an intermediary to help with those difficult situations. And we hope that you will feel comfortable in using us to do that. Next slide, please. So asking for help. There are a lot of resources, and I know it's hard to, the trouble with having a lot of options, it feels like it's a YouTube world. It's just, there's so many options, and you can, which is the best? You're busy. Which is the best? So again, advisors will be here to try and help you sort through those, but here's a few. The Success Office. Those of you who are doing Waterloo Ready know that there's a lot of resources there, but they have what are called peer success coaches. So those are individuals that are students that have a training and coaching that will just someone to talk to. There are a lot of workshops available to guide you in preparation, time management, those kind of things. The Writing Center. Can't push this enough. This is an optional tool, and a couple of years ago they had their they had a celebration of being open for 40 years, and they had a student I've never forgotten who stood up and said that loves the Writing Center, and she doesn't tell any of her friends about it because it's her secret bullet, because her secret weapon it was, because she had learned how to write. You can go and make personal appointments. They'll look at your writing. And so she said her writing had improved so much that she didn't want to tell other people. So I know they now have put all their workshops online virtually. And those workshops are not just looking at PowerPoint. I've had run a grad course that each grad student went to a workshop that they needed. And to a person, they said, wish I'd done that when I was an undergrad. So definitely you work through it, and it's an hour and a half. They used to be at least when they were in person, and definitely a lot of tips. There's a mentorship team, your teaching assistants, as I've said, and your advisors. There's also in the Science Undergrad office a student success coach, who is the person who will reach out to you if in our monitoring of your performance in first year. Lots of people are a little shy, as we're all shy when we feel like we're not doing well. And so you might get a message that says, looks like maybe things aren't going the way you hoped. Do you want to come in and talk? So another person that will be there for you. Next slide, please. And then there's just your own wellness. This is something that is for you personally to assess. We want you to use the athletic facilities as much as is allowed during this period. Use whatever facilities you have at your own use at home or in your neighborhood, but some kind of recreation is critical. We have a soccer field that's inside now. I don't know how that's going to be managed, but students have told me that it's just drop-in soccer after a certain time. And for those of you who are around, apparently you can meet all sorts of people. I don't know, Sue, if you know anything about the availability at this point.
No, I'm not sure of any of the availability, but if you were to check the rec center at the university, it would have probably the timelines when students could go in and stuff. And there's also the ice rink too. If you like skating, they usually have it open for students just to go in for a community skate anytime that they've got it open. So that's also something to look forward to.
Sue's son is an avid hockey player, so she knows a lot about ice skating rinks. So so there's lots of facilities, and I think you can, as Sue said, you'll have to connect with their websites to see what the availability is. But some things are things that you just haven't thought of, and I think coming to university is a time when you do try and take advantage of trying something you've never tried. You sign up for a rec club, you sign up for an interaction, a club like, oh, I'm going to take public speaking. I'm going to join the chess club. I'm going to learn how to sing or whatever. So just try something. It's really great for just expanding and seeing, hey, I didn't know I ever could, or I didn't know I didn't feel like I ever could with the friends I had in high school, but now I can be somebody else, and now I can try and expand. So, but I do, the counseling and the health services is what I wanted to bring to the fore on this slide, is for you to remember that if you feel unwell, if you need some support, there is support available. And that support is free and it's totally confidential. So there is absolutely no communication between a counseling advisor and other advisors or other members of the university unless you give the permission. So if you want a counselor to reach out and say, this person's having trouble, could there be some other accommodations made, consideration given for this person, that's always at your control. So Campus Wellness portal has information for the wellness information at their fingertips, but there's also web pages to either give you counseling support for situations that you might want just online support, but also reaching out and actually getting some kind of consideration or special help you might need. You might need a little longer to write your exams, for example, or tests. You might need help with note taking. You might need, so any type of personal consideration that's dealt with by health services and counseling services, and we need you to ask for that. We don't want you to flounder and then say, gosh, I didn't want to reveal. Don't worry, everything's going to be private. It's not going to be revealed, but it is. I need you to ask for the help that you need. We don't know unless you tell us. Next slide, please. And a few tips for success. Find a little time each day for yourself. And I know, well, once we've been working at home, it's hard to separate the time at work and the time at home. But whether or not it's just having a cup of tea and reading a book that you're trying to work through for the term, whether or not it's just walking your dog, whatever, just try and find a little moment of a little something. Maybe it's yoga, maybe it's whatever, but keep it for yourself. Little exercise is very good. Try and practice effective study habits. There's a lot known about how people learn. We think we know how we learn. I meet so many students who say, I'm a great memorizer. I highlight, I memorize, I rewrite. We all have habits we've developed, but guess what? There's actually science around how people learn, and you could actually maybe pick up some new tips that would really help you. Next part. You have to balance both academics and personal development. So look at your life as a journey and say, okay, it's not all going to be the marks. I'm also going to have to learn how to express myself. So maybe I'll take a communication course. Maybe I have to also get along with people. Maybe I'll take a course in conflict management. There's so many courses here I wish I could take that if I'd known a little earlier, life would have been a little smoother. So take some time. Again, those are the kind of things you can talk to an advisor about, but keep a balance in both in aspects that you're developing academically and personally, whether it's art development, whether it's a skill or whether it's, as I say, one of these soft skills that might just help. Plan ahead, make those calendars, get those deadlines organized. And you can tell I made this slide because use office hours is my take-home #1 thing. Do come and talk to your instructor. Next slide, please. Well, be patient with yourself, be diligent. So try hard, dig in, and then be bold. Be bold in what you take. Don't just be what you were before. Be even more. So I have these websites. We'll post them to SciSpace so you can make bookmarks to them. These are the key ones that I've mentioned in the presentation. And now I'd like to turn it over to the panel who will answer your questions. Thanks very much.
Perfect. Thank you very much to our advisors for that amazing presentation. And now, yes, we'll turn it over to the panelists. So these are a group of upper year students. And we ask for, if you do have a question, use the raise hand function. And you can ask the question, unmute yourself, turn on your camera if you would like. And one of our student panelists can answer the question for you. And today we have Ariel, Emma, Kamar, and Taylor. So I'll hand it over to them and they can turn on their cameras so we can have a little chit chat for the next 15 minutes or so.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ariel. I'm in 2B. The slide says 3B, but I just finished 2B in Honors Biology Co-op. I've already done my first co-op term, and I'm going into an 8-month co-op now with Health Canada in Ottawa, which I'm really excited about.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Emma Araya. I'm also in my 3B term in biology. I've had 3 co-ops so far, 2 with the university and 1 outside of it. And I've been involved with things like science outreach, I've been a residence ambassador, and orientation.
Hi, my name is Kamar. My pronouns are she, her. The slide is wrong, but that's okay. I'm into a biology term. I'm in biology co-op. I didn't have my first co-op yet, but I'll have it next term. I'm part of Orientation 2020, as well as I was a residence ambassador last year. And I'm also part of Pre-Pharmacy Club. I have a huge interest in pharmacy, and that's me. Taylor, we can't hear you. Turn on your mic.
Taylor, if you can't get your mic on, we can get started, and then when you can turn it on, you can just join back in then. All right, so now we'll leave kind of the floor to the students. Just make sure you use the little raise hand function. It's a little picture of a hand. And if you have a question, tap on that, and then we can have one of our student panelists answer the question for you.
Yes, Michael, what can we answer for you today?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I'm planning on applying to dentistry school after the program and stuff, and I was wondering if since I know co-op isn't necessarily necessary for dentistry, what's the protocol if I wanted to switch into like a regular stream?
So that would actually be a great question for an advisor, I think, in terms of switching streams, if Dr. Muffet or Mrs. White would like to answer that question in terms of switching out of co-op.
Sue, do you want to go?
Sure, I can certainly answer that question. So for you being in the Honors Biology Co-op program right now, co-op won't start until you're in your second year. And we do encourage students to kind of, decide whether they want to remain in the co-op program or not. But if you do remove that co-op, say a little too early, then it's very difficult to get back into the program. I would recommend, remaining in the co-op portion, I would say throughout your first year. Again, there's no fees added to your financial side of it in first year. It would be during your second year that you would be, incurring those co-op, the co-op fees. Being that you are interested in the dentistry, I would, look to see the different prerequisites for those future schools. And if you decide that, the co-op is not going to be, something that you're interested in, then we would recommend, a submission of a plan modification form, which I'm sure we can provide the links for you once you connect in with an advisor at that time. It would be through a plan modification form that you would request the switch from the co-op program into a regular program. Again, this can be done anytime through that first year. I would strongly suggest, like I said, connecting with the dentistry schools. Again, with co-op placements, you could always look to see if you can find a placement within a dentistry, within the dentistry field, and have it as a paid co-op, and you're gaining experience as well that way. So there's lots of ways to look at it. usually being in a co-op program is not detrimental to a professional program. It just opens many other doors that you can apply into different positions. You're gaining, experience of interviews, which, is something that's beneficial for the entry into dentistry school, because there's usually interview processes. So you're learning a lot of the professional development side of it through the co-op program. Again, like I said, it doesn't usually impact a decision from a professional school. It just might, take that extra term or two to satisfy your prereqs, because you are in a stepping schedule, in the sense that you do 3 academic terms, and then that 4th academic term is where you would be on a co-op placement. So again, you would be back in for the spring term. Those grades would be reviewed by the professional schools as well, because we are a co-op based school. So again, if you do, decide at some point, or anyone decides to change their status with the co-op to a regular, or even adding in minors, specializations, that type of thing, it is all done through a plan modification form.
Okay.
And those forms are very easily done. It's no questions asked, so don't feel that you're requesting something and it's going to be denied. Your request is where it goes.
Especially if you're removing that co-op, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry to jump in there.
No, that's good. But I think it's also true that a professional school is another year. It's more years, and co-op adds another year. And you may, as an individual, find that co-op isn't what you need, and you can get those skills that Sue's describing by going to interview practice, by taking courses that improve those skills, and maybe you want to fast track that a little bit, and co-op is not for you. So again, definitely a personal decision. I think Sue's laid out a lot of points there. I don't know if any of the panelists who may be in co-op and have similar professional interests want to say anything.
Not necessarily a specific.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say that, like, I'm in co-op and I'm interested in pharmacy school, and I know that, like, when you're in co-op, as you were saying, that it makes it like more challenging because you have terms where you're going to be off studying and you're working, and so that makes it harder for you to finish all the prerequisites for the grad school. But for me, yes, I love pharmacy and I'm really interested in like going, but I'm also like having it as a backup in terms if I like something else, if I get a job, a placement that I value more and I feel like that fits my personality way more, I'm open to that, and that's why I stayed in co-op. So I definitely see that if dentistry is like for sure for you, and you don't want to see like other possible like job opportunities, then I would say maybe yes, you can switch out of co-op. But if you also feel like maybe I want something as a backup, maybe I would value the co-op placement, then I would say like to stay in your program. But also that is thank you. That's also like your personal decision, but that's just my take on it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just a quick
Okay, thank
add-on
you.
for people with co-op in general. I just want to say that the wonderful thing about co-op that I think is very unique to this specific program that you can access through other ways as well, but is the fact that you get to a little taste of different types of workplaces. I did my first co-op actually in the Department of Biology with Dr. Andrew Doxey in a bioinformatics lab. And I didn't need to get all the way to a master's, all the way to a PhD, all the way to an undergraduate thesis in order to know what a university lab looked like. And that's a really good way, for example, if you can find a placement within co-op to do either a pharmacy placement or a dentistry placement or anything really similar, it can give you a taste. So before you commit and invest going into a professional school or going into a specific program, it just allows you to see, yes, reaffirming this is exactly what I want to do, or maybe I want to explore a couple of other options. It's just experience in the workplace.
Great.
I also want to, can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I also want to add on that you don't need to be in co-op to get these kinds of experiences. There's things called NSERT grants, which provide you with a paid position with volunteering in a professor's lab in the summertime. So you can be not in co-op to do those. You can get volunteer positions in labs without co-ops. There's other like lab-based experiential experiences that you can do without being in co-op, such as iGEM, which is a competitive synthetic biology team. So you don't have to be in co-op to get these experiences either. Oh, and I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Taylor, and I am an honors biology co-op with a specialization in microbiology. So far, I've done 3 co-ops, all within the Department of Biology, and my next co-op in next week is also in the Department of Biology. Outside of school and co-op, I have been involved with science ambassadors, and I was also a teaching assistant for Bio 130L Cell Biology Laboratory.
Izzy.
Okay, excellent question. We have time for maybe a couple more questions. We'll wrap up the questions at around maybe 12:25. So if any other students have any questions, feel free to use the raise hand function. All right, looks like we have a question from Isha.
Hi, so earlier it was mentioned something to do with WIMS on Learn. I don't know if you can hear me.
WIMS, yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to look at it in Learn, but I can't see it on my Learn portal. So I don't know what to do about that. Because I'm also doing the labs. So because you said we need to give them to our instructors on the first lesson. So that would be within this weekend. So
no, so the first lab will not be in the first week. So there will be a window. Maybe one of the David Kumar, maybe you know.
Yeah,
I
like
can actually
last
answer
year
some
I was
questions.
yeah.
Oh.
I was gonna answer for this one. I remember I wasn't enrolled into like the women's class until like maybe second day of school. So you don't have to feel like, oh, like I have to get it now before school. I was enrolled after, like I went to first day of classes and everything. So the laboratory like profs, like they know that you are not enrolled yet and they know that you didn't do it yet. And there's also like a deadline after, like maybe like September or something else, like not the first day of school. So you're good in terms of that.
So I can
Taylor,
actually
you were
provide
gonna
some
add
more
something?
insight into that, because for Bio 130L, you will need to submit it for September 21st. So you still have lots of time, but will be instructions on Learn on how to self-register for the course. So you don't get registered in it by a professor. It's something that you have to do yourself. And there's instructions online. We can probably post them in the meeting room after on how to do that. But yeah, you don't have to worry about that quite yet. You'll be instructed by your professor on what to do.
okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. We have a question from
Of course.
Bidhi. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. My apologies.
No, I just have the same question as the person just asked.
Perfect.
And Yankee?
Just make sure to unmute yourself if you have a question. Do we have any other questions?
We have one from Chantel.
Hi, I was watching the biology presentation and I didn't really see anything about how midterms would work. So could you provide any information about that, please?
Okay.
Yes. I can answer that quickly if an advisor wants to take on after, just so you know before. Everything for every course might be different, but it will be mentioned in every single syllabus that you get, which is something that your professors will go through in their first lecture. And calendar everything. Biggest tip from an upper year. That is something I wish I knew. Calendar everything at the beginning. Open all of your syllabuses and just write, okay, I have this midterm here, this midterm here. This is when my finals are, which you'll find out a couple weeks into term. It just helps you time manage a lot better and it makes things way, way less stressful.
Thank you.
As far as how the midterms will work, they are different for each class will have different plan or can. But there, in many classes, there will be a window of maybe 24 hours where the midterm will be open, and that midterm will be delivered electronically, and you will answer, and there will be a limited amount of time, but you can decide whether you want to write at 10 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Others may be you have to write at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and there'll be different tests in those 2 sittings. So each instructor is trying, is designing the test and the test situation to match what they're doing. Some may be what's called open book. You can use every resource. Others are on your honor to have the book closed. Again, please follow those instructions, because there are consequences if you don't, and that are not positive.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Glad you asked. Fabia?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I just had a question about the timetables. Like, I've been checking on Quest daily and they haven't been out, so I was just wondering if there's a set date when they'll come out.
Would you like me to jump in on this one? Okay, so the reason you're probably not seeing much of a timetable is because the majority of your courses are considered remote. So what remote means is that the material will be provided to you through Learn, whether the professors will be, providing you with slides of material, or if they're going to be having, taped discussions, or, having certain chat times. Will be laid out through your Learn site. Now, some of the labs, again, they are considered remote, especially the Biology 130 lab, the Chem 120 lab. So the information will be provided to you through your Learn site. So there's no specific times that I'm aware of that would be showing. So that could be why your timetable right now looks like it's a blank. But again, you do have those courses, and the professors will, within their outlines, be providing you with, the material that you would need throughout the term. There will be due dates on some of that information. There could be little quizzes within a certain time frame. So each course, it should be laid out right at the very beginning of next week when the classes do start. But with it being in a remote session, there's very few courses, especially the first year, where it would be on campus. So there's pretty much nothing for the first year students, but depending on what elective you may selected, there could be some kind of synchronous timing. But again, majority of your stuff will be fully through Learn.
Okay.
I'd also like to add that for Bio 130L, there will be a small synchronous part set up by your TA. It'll be a half-an-hour meeting every week, and you'll know more about that within the coming weeks. You'll be able to select a time.
So you're saying that, like, on the first day on Learn, all our classes will be out, and there's not like set time. You just go in and see all the new announcements that your teachers post?
It
Okay.
would be a good idea on that day to check the syllabus, and all of it will be outlined in there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
That's why it's so important to make a calendar.
Okay.
For sure, for sure. Okay, thank you to everyone for all those lovely questions. Thank you to our student panelists for answering those questions. And of course, thank you to our advisors for answering all those questions. I'm just gonna finish off the slideshow with a couple last minute reminders right before we end. So there's a couple things that are going to be different coming into university. So academic wise, we'll have to prepare for our online classes, labs and tutorials, online lectures and class time. So as we already mentioned, the classes aren't going to be like specific time slots, like everyone at 9 a.m. It'll be kind of pre-recorded lectures that everyone can watch at their times that conveniences them. Make sure to review your lectures and creating lecture summaries, completing course readings, assignment work, and getting ready for the quizzes, midterms, and exams. And for sure, there's also going to be some life tasks that we'll have to take care of instead of not only just academic tasks. So for example, we have to remember to practice self-care, chatting with your family, friends via phone or video. Don't forget 3 meals a day. And if anyone has any part-time jobs or volunteering, balancing those out. Hobbies as well. Don't forget your laundry and, of course, sleeping. And a couple tips for how you can thrive. University of Waterloo Science, like we already mentioned, practicing self-care, healthy study habits, get those ready to go up and early, and then finding balance between any academics or any personal development. And a big theme that we've been mentioning during the whole presentation is kind of your time management skills, having any calendars out or any way that you kind of organize yourself so that you know when all your midterms are, when all your exams are, so you're ready to go. And for sure, we always have our teaching assistants, our professors, and make sure you attend those office hours if you need any help. And always ask questions, the sooner the better. So what's next? Just to finish off, reminder that school starts on September the 8th. Buy any materials that you'll need. So if you're going to need some textbooks for your class, make sure you check out, just typing in on Google, Waterloo Book Look to see what lists of textbooks you're going to need. Any lab materials or any other supplies. And as we mentioned before, make sure you get WMIS certification, checking your Waterloo emails. And later on in the course, we'll send you an email. You'll know when you can start selecting your courses for winter 2021. All right. And thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you to everyone who's attended today's Successful Scientists event for biology. If you had any other questions, feel free to message your advisors or feel free to message any of the orientation leaders that you have in your orientation groups. All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Welcome.
Bye.